Thank you so much, everybody. This is so super exciting to see. We had, I think, a little bit over 80 people registered for the webinar today, which certainly is a huge kudos to all of you for wanting to look a little bit differently at your business planning process this year. And we realized how this really must resonate because I know that it would be really tough for me to just register for another spreadsheet based business planning workshop. So thank you so much for being here. Your time is very precious. We surely do appreciate it. My name is Lisa Parento. I am a broker associate here on beautiful Cape Cod with eXp Luxury. And I've been in the business really since 1993, which sounds like a long time, but I pivoted for a while in my career, but I have been around for quite a while, selling again for about 15 years. And um, my most important role, though, is being grandma to 5.5-year-old Eloise Ann, 14-month-old Hazel, and 6-month-old baby Navy Grace. So that is my my claim to fame. And I am so excited to be here co-presenting with my friend and colleague and business partner, Barbara Legg. Please introduce yourself, Barbara.
Thanks, Lisa. I'm so excited to do this with you. I'm Barbara Legg. I am a broker associate in San Diego and selling real estate since, 2004. I can't even believe that. But anyway, I love giving back to my agent community and I love collaborating with Lisa. Lisa and I have so much fun doing different workshops and different uh, activities and projects that we work on. We always just have so much fun. So with her being in Cape Cod and me in San Diego, sometimes the time difference, but we always make it work. We always make it work and we always have so much fun.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. In fact, we had some branding and we probably will go back to it called Property Sisters Coast to Coast. That was our, because we really have done a bunch of projects so far and we'll continue to collaborate. And we really met online at EXP. We had never met in person for almost 2 years. So it's kind of a kudos to a cloud platform. Just want to kind of mention that real quick. So I'm going to just jump right into our presentation because it will kind of outline the roadmap of today. We have a ton of content for you. We kept saying we should have made this 90 minutes, but we didn't. So again, keep looking in the chat. If you have not downloaded that workbook, you may want to at least download it and be able to you don't need to kind of fill in as we go along, but there are some prompts and we will be spending some time being a little bit more thoughtful in this process. We figure you're a pretty self-selected group who is interested in doing that. So we're going to kind of run with it. So right now I'm going to share my screen if all things are working. Are we on all cylinders here? Can you see the screen presentation?
yep.
Okay, perfect. So here is the beginning of our presentation, Gratitude-Led Business Planning for 2026. Again, here's a QR code. If you haven't done it yet, please download a copy of this, but this will be available for folks that did register that were not able to attend this morning and can take advantage of our content afterwards for sure. So here's kind of a roadmap. And as you can even tell from the slide, it is jam-packed. So we're going to try and get through as much as we possibly can in this hour. We're going to have a little bit of a gratitude and reflection. We're going to look at where we are, how aligned we're feeling right now in our business. And we could not kind of ignore this huge year of the snake and upcoming year of the horse, which will start, is it February 17th?
February 17th, 2026.
Yes, but it is absolutely amazingly aligned with the presentation today. And so we wanted to bring you up to speed. If you haven't heard that yet or seen it all over Instagram, you will be in the know for the cocktail parties. So we're going to be doing that. Then we've got some market predictions. Barbara's going to handle that. She's got some great stuff from Brian Buffini and from Lawrence Yoon, our NAR chief economist. And then we're going to get into some vision crafting. We've got a great prompt about the 4 pillars, which will really help that vision crafting. Again, a lot of this is going to be in your workbook, and you're going to be able to do this at your leisure over the next few weeks. And then some goal setting. There's a little bit of numbers in there, and there's a place for you to do numbers. We got a great worksheet for you, but that's not the intent of today's workshop. Today's workshop is really kind of to look at self, capital S, and start from there. But we do have some numbers. We're all realtors. We care about production. We get it. So we do have that stuff for you. And then some gratitude action steps, some next steps. Love to always have that in our presentations, and then a closing ritual. And then there is a slide of all the resources that we'll be doing. There's a couple of bonus things that we're adding. And so that's that. So here's our overview. Okay, it's 11:06. Go. So we wanted to start out with kind of talking about why we decided to do this, what we were looking for, what was missing for us. So Barbara, can you share a little bit about why you wanted to do a gratitude-based blueprint for your business planning for this year?
Yeah, it's I think we've all been trying to, run and try to figure out what's the next step, what do you want to do? And I thought, when you and I were kind of talking about this, just to kind of slow down and pause and be grateful for what you already have. When you're grateful for what you already have, just more gratitude comes your way. Even when you're having those really bad days, it's like, okay, what's the lesson I'm learning with this crazy seller I have right now, or that crazy buyer that's just gone off the rails, what is that lesson? And so sometimes we need to just slow down a little bit and check in with yourself. So that was one reason why I really wanted to get, started with this.
Yeah, yeah. So I've been doing some work with Ayurveda and meditation and really focusing on our nervous systems, right? And kind of regulating our nervous system. And I feel like, people are freaked out about the fact that they can't find the right brand of oat milk. Like there's just this level of anxiety everywhere, and that kind of stress is not a good place to plan from, And so as you mentioned so clearly, slowing down, giving yourself permission, the self-care that's involved with that, and it lets you kind of rewire from panic to possibility. And that's really what we want to do. We want to look at when your vision is rooted in gratitude and in trying to connect to your higher self. I'm going to keep saying that capital S, but I just think it's so important. It's a different activity, and you feel more confident because you're coming from a place that's deep inside. Not, as you mentioned, not because your broker wants those numbers, not because, your partner, but not because your team. What is it for you? And it may be more service related this year than numbers, or it may be numbers are the most important thing, and you'll do some volunteering in 27. Only you know that. Only you know that. But we want to give ourselves some time to work from that place. Um, I think when we look at alignment, and we'll be talking about that, they talk about kind of the biggest discomfort in on your spiritual path is when you're out of alignment with when what you say and do is very different than what you believe,
Yep.
and you're not being authentic to who you really are. So again, that's really why we're here and why we decided to offer this. And apparently, lots of you think this is a good idea as well. So we are going to start with just a quick 2-minute grounding. If you guys will all indulge us to kind of get into that place. I actually have a timer, which I will start in a moment. Um, just 2 minutes. So let's take 2 minutes to pause wherever you are. Allow yourself to get a little bit more comfortable in your seat. Let your shoulders fall back and down. Drop your gaze a little bit or close your eyes if you're comfortable doing that. It won't be very long. Soften your eyes, soften your jaw, soften your belly. Take a deep breath through your nose and hold it for 1, 2, 3, and then exhale slowly through your mouth. Take another deep breath and exhale. The reason that they ask us to focus on our breath is because it brings us into this moment for a moment. And ask yourself this question: what is quietly supporting me right now that I'm truly grateful for? Maybe it's something small, that warm cup of coffee, the Christmas music in the air. Right now, you have nowhere else to be and nothing else to do but be right here with Barbara and I for the next hour, and give yourself permission to explore some possibilities. Now nothing to fix. Just remembering the importance and the wholeness of yourself. That is enough. Take one more deep cleansing breath. And when you're ready, open your eyes and join us again. Thank you so much for taking that time with us. So, alignment check-in. Barbara, I'm going to throw it to you to start this. And we've got some great pages in the workbook on this with kind of a meter where you can gauge yourself where you are aligned with some of these things. But go ahead and take us through a little bit of looking at 2025.
Yeah. So, first of all, thank you, Lisa. That was amazing. It's always good to kind of, calm the mind down so that you can get to the heart. Alignment check-in. So yeah, as you guys are looking at your workbook, we have like that little meter system, and go ahead and fill out like what mattered to you in 2025. What was really working for you? Like, personal, professional, physical, spiritual, and really kind of take a look at that because that's going to help you figure out where you want to get more aligned into 2026.
Yeah, and feel free if you feel, drawn at all to share on the chat. So what mattered to me personally, and Barbara and I can both share, briefly. Um, I know personally for me, I really expanded my meditation practice, which kind of changes everything in my life. And I always think that it really helps everybody else in my life too. Because when I'm grounded and centered, and I'm coming from a place um, of equanimity, if I may, then I'm not overreacting, and I'm not reacting from my wounds, which I realized, is a piece of how we all walk. So what mattered to me the most in 2025 from a personal standpoint was expanding and making room for that. And I look back on so many things and how that has helped me, tremendously. How about you, Barbara? What really mattered to you personally this last year?
I'm gonna have to say family. Having my grandkids right around the corner from me, and being able to spend time with them, and just have them pop in and show up on a daily basis. If I can, that would be awesome. But just kind of be with my family. It's really a nice reminder, especially watching the grandkids and how they're my granddaughter's 4 and my grandson is 2. Like just a sense of wonder. I just love that. And we have, just so you guys know, FYI, we have dance parties in our living room all the time.
Excellent. Love it. And we're going to get to that fun thing, I think, a little bit later.
Yep.
And then, pick another one of the professional, physical, or spiritual, emotional. What really mattered most to you? And as people, again, are kind of thinking about,
Mhm.
for themselves, take a moment now, or at least, jot down a couple of thoughts. We want to leave a little bit of space for that in this presentation instead of like kind of barreling through for sure, going on the pause over pace. Professional, physical, or spiritual, emotional. Any one of those kind of were really, something that really mattered to you this year.
For me,
Yeah.
when I'm looking at professional, for me it was diving more into my team and my agents, and being able to help them succeed and grow. And for those of you that are here that were with me on the Blitz, I mean that just filled my heart. I love doing the Blitz with everybody. We had these Monday Zooms, and it was some great collaboration. So I want everybody that's part of that. Thank you so much. Thank you for being here, and thanks for your support on that as well. So. Physical for me was kind of more of again self-care.
Mm.
That would be the physical part for me. Yeah, and that kind of goes into spiritual and emotional as well, right? The self-care is so important.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, professionally, my year was very different. I because of some physical things, professionally, my year was very different. I think for me, professional though, what mattered most was I was given the opportunity and the honor and the privilege to have some pretty significant leadership roles at NAR. I was a national chair this year and a director. And for my local and state association, I've also had some pretty significant leadership roles at EXP. So that for me was probably something that really, really did matter to me. When you're sitting at those tables, you're able to really, admit somebody in the waiting room, you're really able to make a difference. You usually only have your year, right? You have your year as a chair, but you can make a difference. You can really do something that at a pretty significant level. And so that was really huge for me. Physically, working really hard on that. Something I don't talk about very often, but I will disclose here. I was diagnosed with lung cancer 2 years ago, and I've been through some significant surgeries and radiation therapy, and I'm around the corner at the moment. I'm really um, uh, grabbing my physical power back, on my Peloton. Yes, I fell in that P-Volve, Jennifer Aniston, whatever funnel on all the socials and bought that crazy exercise thing. And I'm doing the, I can't even describe what that whole situation is, kind of like Pilates in a box. But anyway, so I'm taking my power back on my physical health in terms of eating. As I mentioned, I just completed a 16-week Chopra Ayurvedic instructor course. So that was pretty significant for me. And so that was, physically important. So guys, write down, where you were. We just wanted to share a little bit of our journey and ourselves. And then the important question, where were you out of alignment? And where were you most in alignment? Um, I don't, did you have an example for that for you, Barbara, in terms of out of alignment or in alignment?
I mean, not really. I'm thinking, we want you guys just to kind of, pause and answer these questions. You don't necessarily have to do it right now. We do have a lot to go over. So,
Well, I think it is important though and I think that the scale and the workbook should really help with that. But
true.
I
Yeah.
know I continue to find myself out of alignment with making time for family, and so I will, peel back to that and say, wait a minute, wait a minute, like what's the most important thing? So that's something that I have to always keep an eye on. And then out of alignment for me, I need to put more time in for fun. I need to
Mm.
calendar more fun. I can get very serious and very overplanned, and so that for me, planning family parties, which we've done a bunch of different things for this holiday season, all of that stuff, I can get out of alignment very quickly in kind of my Lisa world tunnel vision. So that for me, to be authentic is something that I really work on. So,
Well, and I think it's important, that everybody remember too that it's okay to say no,
mhm.
right? A lot of times, and I think a lot of us say yes, 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 whether it's family, business, whatever, and then we forget. So, and then, we overextend ourselves. So, yeah, it's a really good question. It's a really, great way to reflect.
Yeah, and again, I think that alignment piece, that it's almost like a false. I love it though. This kind of December, often people November, December, where there's this alchemy of kind of I can choose different things for the
Mhm.
next year. It's a very artificial date, and in fact, it's funny that we're going to talk about the year of the snake and the horse because that doesn't start till February 17th. So you got a lot more time to kind of put all that stuff together for the new year of the horse. But it's still very exciting, and there's a concept in yoga called the fertile void. And when we know that there's like some change coming, some things happening for usually because something isn't working. We rarely volunteer when things are fabulous to make big changes, right? But when things are not working, whether it's whatever, one of these four, if it's really not working, we know we need to move to the next thing. But a lot of times we don't know what the next thing is.
Mhm.
So we're in that space in the hallway, as they talk about, right? Where we've left something and we're going somewhere else, but we really don't know where we're going. But that space is called the fertile void. And the great saints used to pray for this because they would realize that the whole universe was working on their behalf, was conspiring on their behalf to create the most amazing opportunity. And it's hard to wait for that. It's hard because we want to know. We want to hang our hats on something, right? We
Yep.
want to know. But we have this time now to let things really bubble up. So really give yourself the permission to look at, privately, where did you feel out of alignment?
Mhm.
And also, where did you feel most in alignment? When I'm doing all of that leadership volunteer work, I really feel aligned. Like that's my purpose. Yeah, like I'm very passionate. Um, I feel like that being able to make a difference on that level is something that really feeds my soul. Um, so, we want to keep all of those things in mind.
Yep.
And I'm going to try to turn off that clock. Somehow it's still on. And I don't know how to do it, so I'm leaving it there. Let me go to our next slide. Oops. So let's talk a little bit about this thing that's kind of in the zeitgeist right now, which is Year of the Snake, which it was 2025, and then transitioning to the Year of the Horse. I think it's really powerful for business planning purposes. So how many people, just show of hands, have heard about Year of the Snake and Year of the Horse? All right, so that's about maybe half of the folks. So that's great. Um, So if you do follow that, and I think sometimes if we like the way it sounds, we're more likely to kind of go along with it. And if it doesn't really resonate, then that's fine. But so Year of the Snake was really characterized as is, we're going to talk about a couple of things, but Year of the Snake was characterized in some ways by kind of like um, more like introspection, transformation. Of course, there's the shedding of old skins, careful planning. Think about if any of this is resonating for 25 for you. Deep inner work. I mean, that was a piece that resonated with me. Clearing out what doesn't serve you, right? Um, and this shift is kind of described, the 25 to 26 shift is described as kind of shedding to embodying. This time of year, think about this shedding as some things that are like non-negotiable for you to face and shed. The snake, it's said that the snake asks you to soften your grip because in order to release these old things, to shed this skin, we do need to soften our grip a little bit. And we need to be honest. It was like that alignment question about what's really not serving us. I don't know about you, but I end up very often doing a number of things that I feel obliged to do that are really not serving me. And so they're not only not with my full heart, but they also keep me from doing things that I would be more aligned with, right? Like we talk about that with clients, we talk about it with lots of things. If we're working with people that we really don't resonate with, we're not doing the best job for them, and we're not available for those that really need us, right?
Right.
So the more you surrender now during this fertile void, potentially the more movement and momentum you can feel from what's coming up with the Year of the Snake. And I love the idea of some of these practical things, and they're mentioned in the workbook. Go through your closet. Like this shedding can be very physical too, right? I mean, seriously, this is the time. This is a great time.
Mhm.
We just did that in our kitchen. We have a whole bunch of people coming in, pulling out the chip, checking all the expiration dates on everything. It's kind of exciting. I think it is. I don't think my husband thinks it's very exciting, but going through that stuff, right? Look at your expiration dates. And then we have a contest sometimes. Like, what's the oldest expiration date we can find in that cabinet? Um, how about decor that you really, I mean, now we probably have our Christmas stuff out, but as you're bringing things back after the holidays in January, is there some of that decor you could let go of, that doesn't really reflect how you're feeling right now? And then Barbara and I were laughing about this one. How about the books? All those books I know you ordered because you were on a workshop and somebody mentioned the book and you went like on Amazon real quick to get the book. And maybe you opened it, but
Mhm.
maybe you didn't even open it.
Mhm.
I took a course on shaman. So anyway, I have like 3 books on shamanism that I don't know what I'm ever gonna. Anyway, so the books are a funny thing, right? So think about like those books. And again, like I love that expired. How much stuff is in your basement that's broken that you were like gonna definitely fix, and you're not gonna fix it probably. Just get rid of it. So I think there's a really great component of the physical piece. And then the other piece that I think is really important is the digital. And that's not just like, digital detox or whatever. But the subscriptions, take an hour, take 15 minutes a day, however you can, calendar it in the next couple weeks to start getting rid of those subscriptions that you really aren't that are not serving you, right? How about your photos on your phone? Do you have like a gazillion copies of your one picture that you could probably, this takes time. There are apps, but that kind of digital detoxing, that stuff that's around that we really, how about your downloads folder? I have to be honest, and before we get off, if I have a chance, I'll let you know the size of it. But I like to keep things kind of tidy on, not that tidy, but kind of tidy on my desktop. So I have a folder that's called things that should be filed. And I've had it there for years. And in the end, I just throw everything in there because I just can't stand. So I could definitely do some detoxing because I think that's probably goes back about way before pandemic. I mean, a while, right? So your digital world is a piece of your energy. And I think that that's something that we should consider when we're thinking about the shedding as well. And then I think the things around obligation, you can go there. Um, Roles that you've been playing. I know for me, being a chair, guess what your role is in the upcoming year? Immediate past chair. We're always saying we need a support group, like a national support group of everyone who's an immediate past chair, because you have to show up to be a team player, but you need to be as small as possible because you've got to give that new chair and vice chair their year, right? So it's a very challenging role, but it's a role and you have to do it, right? So Barbara, talk about some, is there anything that you want to mention, maybe why releasing is important or any of the things on this list before we transition to,
I've
we want to
already
make sure we get some leverage out of this stuff though.
I've already started cleaning out my closet and my shoes and handbags and all that fun scarves. Oh my gosh. The digital noise. I mean, there's such good ideas in there, like the subscriptions and newsletters. Just thinking about that right now, I already know it's going to clean up my email inbox,
Mhm,
right?
mhm,
I mean,
mhm.
how many times do you wake up in the morning and you see all these emails that came through and you're like, delete, 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 delete. So just delete from subscribing to that and not have to worry about it. So, um, no, there's a lot of releasing, I think that we can do in so many different ways. I see you guys are putting down how many pictures you have on your phones.
Oh yeah.
Guilty.
What's the content? All right, let's see. Everybody check their phone right now. We'll just put it in the chat to see who wins. I need to know. All right, you will not believe my number.
I
I
don't
can't
even.
put it in the chat. Someone put Lisa dash 51,777. So we'll see who, and they're all of grandchildren. No, they're not. It's, so that's definitely, and I even have those apps that are supposed to be pulling out the duplicates, but that's very time consuming. But that kind of thing, right? Like it's time consuming, but God, that's important. Energetically, it's important. It's not so much to free up space on your phone. You all know how much better you feel when you clean something out,
Well,
right? How much,
what happens when you clean something up, Lisa? What does that allow? More
pardon me?
space. When you
Yeah,
clean
of course. Yeah, yeah, more space.
space. Hmm.
And that's what we're looking for as we transition. So leveraging, so the idea of leveraging this, leverage it for your business, leverage it on a personal level, leverage it on a spiritual level.
Hmm.
I mean, it's in the zeitgeist, and again, you can talk about it at Christmas parties, so it'll be great. Okay, so then let's transition to the year of the horse. So this is kind of the threshold, right? It starts February 17th, but everybody, that's one of the things I love about the fact that we have 2 full months from when we're talking about this now, um, to really get to the year of the horse. And again, that kind of reclaiming strength. I mean, I just love that. The idea that the strength is there, we're just taking it back.
Right.
This is nothing new. This is not, we're not suddenly getting strong. You are strong. We've just let a lot of things allow us to forget that, for sure. Um, so it's said that like the year of the horse is not supposed to be like hustle. It's supposed to be embodied confidence. So think about that. There's a lot of talk about the movement of it, the forward motion, the momentum, and all of that's important. But I think it's that embodied confidence piece and not just hustle. And I think a lot of you must really relate to that because you decided to make this a priority today, that you wanted to find another path to planning for next year. So, where have I grown stronger this year? Or as I grow stronger, what were those things? What are those things that make me feel stronger? And what does that look like? Is it physical? Is it through service? How about for you, Barbara?
For me, I think it's going to be taking more risks and not worrying too much about what other people think. What's that saying? What other people think about you is none of your business.
Yeah, I
So,
love that.
just kind of keeping that in mind and just if it moves you to do it, do it. So yeah, for me, it's
I
going to be
love that.
yeah, taking more risk. Mhm.
So, what inner resources do you need to do that?
Well, definitely pausing and reflecting first thing in the morning, journaling, right? And writing down my ideas. They might not all be good, but if I write them down, and then I can go back and go, yeah, that was a silly idea. I'm not going to do that one. But hey, oh, this one, this idea, we're going to run with this one.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. And allowing yourself to brainstorm without judgment. It's kind of all that judgment that we put on
Yes.
ourselves that doesn't really serve us for sure. So then freedom without escape, what does that mean? Well, so I think it talks about that our our movement, our forward motion, our momentum is rooted in choice. We're acting, and we have time to plan for this, right? We can act and not react. How many times do we find ourselves in reaction mode in our businesses? And that's the beauty of the beginning of the year, right? That we can look at, we can make some quarterly, ideas, and whether those quarterly goals are numbers based or service based or both, we have the opportunity now to do that from choice. They always say that with the calendar. Put your vacations in first. Put your family time in first. Put your CEO time, which we'll talk about in a minute, first. All those things that are not urgent and important that we never get to. Y'all have heard about that quadrant, right? We're always doing the urgent, not always. Our lives are so often filled with urgent, not important. Because it's hard to just do important, not urgent. That's hard.
Mhm.
But also, I think this question asks you to really consider, what does freedom really mean to you? Time freedom, financial freedom, physical freedom. Like, what does freedom really mean to you? It's this year is going to be characterized by pieces of that. So think about that now as we're at this threshold, kind of crossing this time period. What does freedom really mean to you? Barbara, what does freedom mean to you?
Oh gosh. Well, non-judgment.
Mm,
I mean, I know I probably say that a lot, but I'm hard on myself. I judge myself a lot. And so I think just releasing that and not worrying about it, but don't worry, be happy, right? I mean, just judgment for
yeah.
me. How about for you?
Yeah, no, I love that. For me, um, it's about thinking about these big things that are important to me and then being really present in my day. Putting those things in place that I need to do, making sure I understand my full day the night before, setting all of my like I one of the things that keeps me sane is that I set a million alarms every day. Like I set my alarms for 5 minutes before my different meetings, whatever. Like, but I know, so I'm never kind of, in a reaction mode for me being prepared up front like that. That's freedom for me because then I can be present in the moment and be my full self, so that's actually the best. And having unstructured time and not feeling guilty about it. I don't know about you all, but I I'm not the sitting around type, but I've got a whole little painting station here in my office. I have some watercolors, I have acrylics. Um, I don't get to do it very often. I do it with my oldest granddaughter, but building in time that's relatively unstructured and feeling good about it. That's tough for me. So but that's freedom for me, right? It's like, what are is it retired? That word that I don't even know if, that R word, I don't know, what does that mean? But so anyway, that's what it would mean so think about that, guys. What does freedom mean? A lot of times for us, it would be financial freedom too, right? And that's important to know that that's an important thing for you, because that can help drive some decisions this year. So, direction and momentum, I think something that's really important about that bullet point is to really get in touch with where do you feel a natural pull forward? Is there a different area of your business? Is there a different service opportunity that you think about? Is there a different niche that maybe you want to develop and take some education in? Or is there one that you've been really excelling in and feeling so confident and good about that you want to do even more in? Are you called to teach? Are you called to lead a team? Are you called to take some leadership roles in your association? Where do you feel a call? Where might you say yes that previously you have said no? What feels worth your time and energy? Do we ever think about that? Is this really worth my time and energy? Is this aligned with the things that I said that we're going to, get to in a moment, the things that were important in my vision? And then rhythm over rush, I don't think this is going to be, I don't think we can ever say enough about this. Back from Ariana Huffington's nap rooms to, I mean, we live in this world where we're catapulting from one moment to the next. And if you are fortunate enough to have grandchildren, you get to see both sides of that. The staring at a bee on a flower for what seems like an eternity, and then also the frantic movement that you're tired looking at them, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that idea that the wonder that you mentioned, Barbara, having more wonder about all of the things around us, you know. Um, and then I think claiming the open field really talks very specifically about, um, what is it that, again, kind of what I was talking about with, what are you drawn to? And you were mentioning it, Barbara, with risks. What are those areas that maybe are, we call them blue water in entrepreneurial world, right? What are those areas that might be blue water for us? That there is a huge amount of opportunity. We're a little scared about it. Where can I partner with someone? How can I try on something new? This is the year. This energetically on the Chinese calendar, this is the year to really maybe stick your big toe in some of that stuff. So, thoughts, Barbara, on all of this, on crossing the threshold into the next year?
Yeah, the thought that comes to my mind is take the blinders off. Don't
Mm,
keep the blinders on, right? Take the blinders off and see the big picture. Take a look at everything that's around and all the opportunities that are coming your way, because there's a lot.
yeah, 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 yeah. And also, where can I take up some more space? I have a friend who I was just speaking to, and she said, I realized I make myself so small
Mhm.
so much of the time. Why and how can I not do that? And so if you do feel like that, if you have any feelings like that at all of feeling small in some ways, keeping your opinions down, trying to keep the peace, we never do that, right? Where could you take up some more space
Yep.
in 2026? I think that's is there a part of you that's looking to be more visible? For me, it's being more authentic about my cancer. For me, it's about really pursuing my meditation instruction and some more of the Ayurvedic, consulting that I'm looking at. Like those are things that are important to me. And I want to be more visible for those things because that's what I'm being called to and drawn to this year. I'm still a luxury realtor. I love it, of course, but there's more to me than that. So anyway, give yourself permission to dream in those areas. I would suggest that. So any last thoughts on this, Barbara?
No, I think we're ready to do
All
something.
right, let's get some real stuff here. Take it
Okay.
away, Barbara.
And I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on this, the housing market update. For those of you that have not watched the Brian Buffini bold predictions, um, go to BrianBuffiniCompany.com and click the link to watch the replay of the bold predictions. It was really, really good. And the replay is only going to be up for a short amount of time.
Mm.
So make sure that you get that. And that's where a lot of these stats came from. This particular one, the nationwide forecast, was one that was shared on that webcast, but it comes from NAR. So they're kind of projecting 2026 to be a mirror rhythm of 2019. So for those of you that were in the business in 2019 and you had a good year in 2019, guess what? 2026 should be more of the same. Of course, pricing is going to be different and interest rates are going to be different. But as far as sales wise, it's looking pretty good. Um, Another note too, and we might have it on the next slide, is they're projecting to be, I think, 240,000 agents leaving the business with
Mm.
a 14% increase in sales. Guess what? We all just got a raise.
Yeah,
So that's kind of exciting. I think that it's important to, if you've had a bad year in the past, just let it go. That's the past. Let it go. We're going to all, focus forward on 2026, all the great opportunities that are coming up. And that's why we're doing this to get ready for it.
absolutely. So there are some active links here. I believe that maybe some of this is also on a QR code. If not, we can always get that out to folks. Um, but yeah, I think that, Lawrence Yun has been cautiously optimistic now. Everybody was kind of in agreement that 25 will be a struggle for a variety of reasons. Um, and I think the jury is still out about the tumult that we find ourselves in and people's willingness to purchase, at least in my market, right? So I am in a resort and second home market, which, I always would say we have a lot of sellers that want to sell and buyers that want to buy, but nobody has to do a damn thing. So in times when there isn't an urgency, someone's not trying to do a 1031 exchange, someone's not going to buy an investment property for Airbnb. Um, the market has definitely been slowed up. But there are many markets where there's a lot more urgency about purchasing a home. And a lot of people who are on the sidelines that are going to finally jump in, I think. That's what I think they're hoping. Here was the other slide that Barbara is sharing, which is really great. Do you want to take it on this, Barbara?
Yeah, just real quickly, the repeat buyer. Okay. And this is average. Median age is 62, right? 22% had children under the age of 18. And the top reason to be closer to family. Lisa and I have been talking a lot about our grandbabies and, family is so important to a lot of people. Um, your first time buyer, the median age is 40. So, let's think about that for a little bit. Make sure you know who you're targeting, who's your avatar, who are you talking to when you're doing your marketing. Um, 50% are married, 25% single women. So, and 10% single men. And then a home seller, the median age is 64. Right? Now, it was said too that a lot of people are going to be purchasing second homes, but generational second homes. So there's going to be like families that are going to have maybe a getaway, a lake house or something in the mountains, but the whole family is going to be able to use it. The aunts, the uncles, the grandmas, whoever. So think about the second home market possibly. So just a few stats. Again, a lot of this is on that bold predictions webcast. So feel free to chime in on that. It's really, really good. And there's some great slide resources too that you can download and take a look.
Same on the National Association of Realtors site. If you
Yes.
just Google NAR 2026 predictions, you'll find stuff. If that could be helpful to add to your marketing or in your conversation with potential clients. So we have 15 minutes left, and an important piece, but we needed to set the table. And a lot of these next pieces will really, we want to prepare, and I think we have some great resources for you in the next couple pages and in the next, section. But this is where you need to take some time and to dig in to some of these questions for you. We have kind of this vision crafting piece, and I'm going to pass it to Barbara for a sec. And then we've got 4 pillars, which I think will really anchor you in thinking about breaking down what this vision crafting looks like. So Barbara, did you want to go ahead and do some talking about about the vision crafting?
Yeah, so just to kind of get your thoughts around this. Some of when you're vision crafting on what you want to do for 2026, some questions to think about in your head. If your business could say thank you to you in 2026, what would it thank you for doing today?
Hmm.
And you don't have to answer the questions right now because in your workbook you have that sheet on what does 2026 look like to me, and just fill it out as best you can. What old narratives or habits are you ready to release in order to grow with gratitude? um let's see, I like this one too. If your future self from 2026 wrote you a gratitude letter, what would it say? How is your future self thanking you? um who are you becoming by leading with gratitude, and how does that impact your customers? And then this one, I really like this one. What daily practice will anchor you in gratitude as your business evolves in 2026? Guess
Mm.
what? It's journaling. It's always journaling.
Yeah. And there's something to be said, and I think we'll mention it at the end, for journaling your gratitudes. And I'm sure you all know this. You've read it. This is nothing. 5 million TED Talks on this. But the truth is, and the importance of all of it, I have had some sense experience with, is that when you're asked to come up with 3 gratitudes a day, 2 gratitudes a day, that's easy in the first week or two. Your health, you got a good hair day, you've got a nice partner, you have a like whatever, you're thinking about all these things. Well, let me tell you, like in week 3, you're going, you really you get a little bit more hard pressed to come up with unique things. We did a funny one with a partner with 3 gratitudes a day, and after like a pretty short time, everyone was like totally struggling, and then feeling terrible about the fact that they were totally struggling. But what that does is, if you have committed to 21 days of 3 gratitudes a day, 28 days, whatever that number is, and I would encourage you to think about doing this for yourself just to prove me wrong. You start to look at your whole, you have that reticular activator starting up for gratitudes, and you realize you are grateful that your scarf really is going to match your sweater in a beautiful way. Like, you have to find like little things that you are really grateful for, that you wouldn't, that are not the big, my health and my grandchildren and my house and all that big stuff, right? Like little things, the taste of your, that first sip of your morning coffee. But when we are grounded in that place, like we started off with, when we're grounded in that gratitude, there isn't a lot of space for all of the striving for more significance. Tony Robbins says there's 6 human needs, and the first one is certainty, and the second one is uncertainty, because he says we'll get bored to death if I have everything so certain. But the third one is significance. And we all crave that. We want to feel significant in some way. But when we're always searching significance, nothing is ever enough. I don't know if any of you can relate to that, but when I hit a goal of some kind, I hardly stay there. I'm like, next, like, leading up to it's very exciting. But once we achieve it, if you're like me, we're looking for what's my next goal, and we don't spend that time celebrating. So um, I think all that's really important when you're thinking about, what do you want this business to look like next year? What do you want your business to be known for? You're probably doing a majority of it already, but articulate that, speak it, write it, you know. Um, and then it's always good to review, who are you really serving? Do you have a niche? Is it nice people who I really want to go have a cup of coffee with? Not blank blanks. You know, many of us a long time ago realized we didn't have to work with people we didn't want to work with, right? So who are you serving? And that can also be your family and your community, as well as client types. What and who supports you? What else do you need? You know a lot of this, but this is the time to really think, I need a better CRM. I need a better drip campaign. I need to get serious about getting an assistant. What would that look like if I really made that decision to get an assistant in this next year? I can tell you that it has changed my life. I've had mine for over 4 years. It has changed my life. Seriously. And then the same question we keep asking over and over, what are you releasing? What volunteer opportunities, what clients, what things in your basement? What does that look like when you're doing this vision crafting? And I do love that question at
Mhm.
the end. I haven't written that yet, but I'm looking forward to it.
I love doing that practice. Every year I do that. I write a letter for the end of the year,
Oh,
right?
I
And then
love it.
then I read it at the end of the year just to kind of see how I did.
That's fantastic.
It's a fun practice.
So you've got some really great stuff in the workbook relative to this. So let's get into these four pillars, which I think will be helpful to guide where we're going, and we'll kind of go through them pretty quickly. We've got the four pillars to get through, and
The
I
goal
think
set.
that's it. So let's see, production goals. Barbara, I'm going to let you run with this one.
So to be respectful of everybody's time, I'm really just going to kind of fly through this. I hope you're
Yep.
okay with that, Lisa.
Yep.
Because we do have the lines in the workbook. Go ahead and fill it out later.
Very
But
specific questions.
right. So the questions are, revenue with intent. What level of income feels aligned with the life I'm building? Why is that important? And then number two, client served. Who am I thrilled to serve? And what transformation do I help create? That's really important. Like, especially the business that we're in, we do change lives, right? We're helping buyers buy their first home or buy their forever home or their dream home. So it really it can be a very rewarding um, career, right? Um, and then conversion clarity. What does my data actually tell me? Where are the leaks? Where's the magic? Right? Really take a look at that. What happened in 2025? That's not going to happen in 2026. Um,
And
with
I'm assuming that all of you are reviewing your numbers and also the source of that business. That's obviously huge. I'm assuming you're all successful agents because that is going to help you
figure out.
define the direction that you're going, this year for sure. Um,
And then the lead pillars.
yeah.
Like what kind of marketing do you enjoy doing? If it's fun, you're going to continue doing it. And especially if it's working. And if it's fun and you enjoy doing it, it should be working. Um, so take a look at the three lead pillars that you're going to be doing.
Yep, and those are all outlined in the book. So pillar two is systems. This is going to be obviously the more granular piece of all of this, and that's why we feel comfortable kind of moving through systems. Obviously, there's the big pieces of CRM and client automations. There's two things I want to make sure we point out here. One of them is the CRM we're calling compassion relationship management, meaning, okay, you've got your buyer campaign, your seller campaign, but what other things are you putting into that database? Obviously going to do birthdays, house anniversaries. But were there things about that couple? Like I've got a sale that just closed, and he is a collector of like model airplanes. And so I have put that into the database. And so if I run into anything that talks about a model airplane or model anything, I might send that to him. At least I know very more intimately the last couple of years of transactions, but are there things we can put into our database that would be more What are you tracking, and what else could you really, what other data could you put in there besides the typical things? And then the other piece that we know is important, but put this on the calendar now, like those vacations, I mentioned it briefly earlier, is that weekly CEO time. Are you building in an hour a week for yourself, 1 hour, where you're honestly reviewing what you did, too much, not enough, just right, what you accomplished, what did that list look like? What do you need to revisit next week? Are you giving yourself that 1 hour purely turning off your phone, turning off everything, and kind of revamping what you're doing? Make it a regular day of the week. Energetically, that activity alone, every Friday at 9 a.m., non-negotiable. Making that decision will energetically change things for you. So the question here is, where can structure give me freedom instead of making me feel like a cranky middle manager? Right? Then the third pillar is people and partnerships. Again, we all know this. We need our dream team. Are they really your dream team? I know you have them on your list as your dream team, but have any and all of those actually given you a referral in the past couple of years? Are they really a dream to work with, or are they just kind of the best in the area? Who might you add? Who have you been getting an email from over and over who does dump runs? Like I have this one guy, and I'm like, I got to give him a shot because he just is emailing me like crazy and texting about his dump runs. Okay, well, maybe there's a reason I need to know this guy, right? Like, have we been doing that? Have we been getting bombarded by, oh, America's Home Warranty, right? Like, maybe it's time to say, wait a minute, maybe I need to take a look at some of these other new partners for this next year. Be honest about evaluating that A team. And then number two, I'm going to take a moment to mention strategic association volunteering. I think it's hugely important to consider not only giving back as service to our profession, but it's really cool the people you meet at those tables that are also doing the same thing as you. It's a whole group of agents that you may not even be aware of that are also kind of wired to volunteer in that way. And it's really great. So, who will grow with me into this next chapter? And how can I pour into them with heart and integrity? So that's really broken down really well in the workbook as well. And then the final pillar is, what are those things that you're going to work on? Your health, your gratitude rituals, like I said. What about that? Challenging yourself for 21 days, just jot down 3 things you're grateful for, and then in the second week you'll go, oh my God, that girl Lisa said this was going to happen, and it is so true. It's definitely happened. I can't think of anything. Let me, and then you start to look at those small things, and you realize, my God, I have so many things to be grateful for all the time. Anything you want to mention about this pillar, Barbara?
Oh, no, I mean, I love all the pillars, but this one with the personal non-negotiables, it's so important. Calendar it, put it in your calendar. Like you just said, non-negotiable.
Yeah. And what things really make you feel? I do a food pantry, it's once a month. I'm not getting a parade, but it makes me really feel like I'm contributing through my church. So I show up for them, and also the experience of doing those kinds of things and seeing folks that are struggling just gives you an awful lot of appreciation and empathy in your life, for everyone, for sure.
Mhm.
So what rhythms support me in staying grounded, generous, and genuinely joyful? How lovely to think about that. So I want to partially leave you with this quote, that we do not need to choose between ambition and well-being. We can have all of those things together. And I'm hoping that we've given you a roadmap for considering this next year in that way. Barbara, you were going to speak to this slide. We're just about wrapping up.
Yeah, well, just real quickly. So the goal setting for 2026, look at the 5 circles: business, financial, family relationships, personal well-being, um, and spiritual. So you have in your workbook all the prompts on how you want your business to, looking at each different circle so that we have a balanced life, right? So just go ahead and take some time and take a look at the questions, answer the questions, and then it'll all just kind of roll together, right? For your for a gratitude-led business plan,
Yeah.
right? And that's kind of what our our thing was for today. That's what we wanted to do. But um, I don't know. I just taking a look at some of the questions that are on there. Like if you take a look at financial goals, what one habit or decision will support that goal? We try to come up with different questions to help you dig deeper into answering those five circle goals.
Yeah, and they've always been, very helpful to think about because those are all the different pieces of life, for sure. Um, and you have a ton of stuff in there to help you work through. Certainly, I just saw this month's Success Magazine, which we get as EXP purchased them a couple of years ago, and so we all get the Success Magazine every month. But this one had this. She's a coach. Jen Gottlieb is a coach, and she talked about the importance of journaling, of course, but a new take on journaling beyond the 21 days of gratitude is to think about one brave thing, and that might just be wearing a color you never usually wear. Like it doesn't have to be some dramatic thing, but just some idea to stretch out of your little cocoon. One giving thing. What are you doing today? That maybe it's just making a sandwich for your husband and surprising him with it, or peeling an orange. I often do that. Peel fruit and bring it up to him and just drop it off. We both work from home. And then fun. One fun thing. I don't know about you, but I do need to calendar fun. Not that I have fun in my life, but fun activities, things that are not, like or business or seriously oriented. So just an idea of something we wanted to give you, um, a little something that you could also take away and bring into next year. So in there is a piece about making a final commitment. This year, I choose to build a business that is blank, blank, and blank. And we would love to hear your answers to that. I know I'm still working on mine, but I know that, mindfulness is definitely in that. Joy is in there. And also that I'm being, um, smart isn't exactly the right word, but that I'm making sound financial decisions. I don't know about y'all, but I have shiny object syndrome. So I continue to try to reel in my shiny object syndrome. And this is a great time to do that, at the end of the year when you're reviewing all these things, especially in the digital detox piece. So here is a blessing for you. May the year rise ahead to meet you with grace, opportunity, and quiet courage. And with that, I will say thank you all so very much. Thank you, everyone, for staying with us. We do have that great workbook, which we hope you will take advantage of. There are a bunch of resources on the last page, and one of them is a really great worksheet. If you have some idea of your conversion, you can put those numbers in there. And there's 3 tabs. Be mindful of that. Worksheet's got 3 tabs. So it will let you, it's starting today, it lets you kind of, put down if you haven't found something that you want to start with for the year, number of calls, number of, all of that piece, which lots of people love to do. Me not being one of them, but
I think that it has a tab in there too on the lead sources too, right, Lisa? I remember correctly.
absolutely.
Yeah,
Yep. Yep.
yeah.
And then a special bonus, there is a meditation that I've started putting meditations on Insight Timer. And one of them is on there right now. That one's called The Sun is Always Shining. And you can click on that link and it will take you to that meditation. It's just about 10 minutes long. And you might enjoy that. I would suggest maybe doing something like that and then, giving yourself some time to work on your planning. Just starting to build out that Insight Timer page. If you are a meditator and you use Insight Timer, that will be on there. I do have a 7-day gratitude journey as well as a really great 5-minute reset. And then we're always adding, like now my assistant, I always say is now a sound engineer because he's figuring out how to put music onto my meditation. So always a new day. And Lisa Sells Cape Cod. So anyway, thank you so much. And listen, we're over time by 5 minutes. Thank you for staying.
So I
Questions,
just wanted to do a quick
comments? Go ahead. Yeah.
with Lisa's meditation, you guys maybe listen to that first and then come back to your workbook. Right.
Yeah.
So when you're going to be coming back to your workbook, please make sure that you're taking time, you're doing that pause and getting that inner reflection. So, and then get back to the workbook and answer the questions. And don't put the workbook on a shelf. I know some of you guys don't put the workbook on a shelf. Just get back to it within like a week if you can, so that January 1, we're fully aligned and know exactly where we're going in 2026.
Or at least by February 17th.
There you go. Yeah, that's right. Lisa, oh my gosh, thank you so much for being on here and for helping us stay grounded and figuring out where we want to be in 2026. I just want to thank everybody so much for showing up and being here and taking time out for you. Just thank
Yes.
you so much.
Thank you so much. And thank everyone for your presence today, for your willingness to step out of the kind of business planning box that we often find ourselves in, and to maybe look at things with a set aside mind going into 26 and be able to really ground your plan from something deep inside. And that we are convinced that that will give it more power as we transition to the year of the horse and think about the momentum of that and the beauty of that and the amazing opportunities we have ahead. It has been once again an amazing opportunity to collaborate with you, Barbara. And again, thank you so much, everyone, for your time. We know that is a treasure, and we wish you an amazing end of 2025 and an even more amazing 2026. We know our paths will cross in the new year.
100%. Yeah.